friends. My name is Kari. If you are new here, welcome. If you are not new here, welcome back. Today's a little bit of a different video. As you've probably read the title, things are not going as planned. So this video is going to be a little on the chattier side compared to my usual videos. So grab your favorite beverage and snack and join me as I relay the drama of the last few weeks. Last pregnancy update or pregnancy announcement really was right after we had the anatomy scan. We found out the gender, everything was great, everything looked great. We were planning on a home birth, just like my last child. My third child was born here in this house at home, and it was a beautiful, wonderful experience, and I fell in love with it. All of my kids have been born vaginal deliveries, no complications, no interventions, no epidural, no nothing. In fact, none of my kids have even been delivered by doctors. They've all been midwives. Well, clearly we've run into some hiccups now. So we had our anatomy scan. I posted up the video of what our plans were going forward. Fast forward to 29 weeks. And this is when things got a little weird. So at 29 weeks, I woke up just as usual, and I actually felt really good on this morning. I had a lot of energy, and I just felt like I was ready to tackle on the day with 3 kids, 4 and under, and in my third trimester, just entering the third trimester, which is awesome, on the home stretch, still planning on a home birth, and all those wonderful things. And we're going about our usual morning routine. I go pee, nothing's amiss, and we have breakfast, and then at 8 o'clock on the dot, I always have to empty my bladder, pregnant, duh. Every 5 seconds I am going pee. So I go and I see some red smears on my panties, and I just froze because I didn't was it a stain or something? It was just wait, what? And so I took a wipe and I swiped, and it came back full of blood, bright red blood soaked the wipe. Threw that wipe down, got another one, wiped again, same thing. And I am just freaking out. I just remember terror, feeling like the world was just suddenly stopped around me. I couldn't even, I was in such total shock, because up until that point I had had no spotting, no bleeding, no signs that anything was amiss at all. And bleeding in the third trimester is never a good sign, regardless of what the possibilities could be. They're all pretty bad prospects. So I immediately get up off the toilet to go grab my phone to call my midwife. And by the time I make it back to the toilet, it was only 20 seconds, but I felt a small gush, and I just knew something was terribly, terribly wrong. When you feel any small gush like that, especially in the third trimester, it's like the world's ending. I was thinking the worst, my baby is dying. I was thinking I was gonna have a stillbirth or something. I was in absolute shock. I was just terrified, and I got my midwife on the phone immediately. Thank goodness it was at 8 in the morning and not 2 o'clock in the morning and not able to reach her, but thankfully she answered right away. And I remember the first thing she asked me was, when's the last time you felt the baby move? And my heart just sunk, because I hadn't felt him that whole morning. The hour and a half that I had been up, I had not felt him. So I think I had said, I don't know. I didn't say I didn't feel him, I just said, I don't know. The next question that she asked me was, am I cramping? And that was a definite no. It was painless bleeding, and we were on the phone for about 5 or 10 minutes, and by this point, I was still sitting on the toilet. My 3 kids were there. I'm home by myself, so I'm trying to text my husband at the same time. I'm on the phone with my midwife, and she's basically telling me, okay, if you're really still continuously bleeding, you have a stream, you need to get to the ER immediately. And for the life of me, I have this huge belly. I can't even see do I have a stream of blood coming down? I can't even see in the toilet how much blood I had lost. So I just kept getting wipes and just seeing how much blood was coming off in the wipes. And thankfully, after about that 5 or 10 minutes on the phone with my midwife, it seemed like it was slowing down dramatically compared to how it started. So, and that's been kind of the general pattern with these bleeds that I've been having, is that it seems to all kind of come in one big go. Like the first 5 or 10 minutes is quite a bit heavy, and then after that it kind of peters out to like spotting. So, but of course all I saw was red. The whole floor's like got lines with red. Even my kids are like looking at me intently like something's wrong, something's going on. And I just remember talking to my kids like, shh, it's okay, you know, mommy's on the phone, just give me a few minutes. And I'm sure on the outside it seemed pretty normal to them, but on the inside it was just like complete turmoil. And I had no way to even get to the ER in time because I had 3 kids on my own, and if I'm bleeding, I can't be, you know, hauling all of my children into the car seats and driving myself to the ER. So my husband, I'm, you know, trying to get him home as soon as possible. But thankfully my midwife was saying, hold tight, you know, if you're not cramping and it seems like the bleeding is slowing down a little bit, hang tight, I'll be there to check up on you guys. So she did. Thankfully, her and my husband got home both at the same time around 9 o'clock, so about an hour after the initial bleeding started. And she checked me and baby out, and I remember her laying the Doppler wand and hearing the heartbeat and just feeling total relief once we heard baby's heartbeat nice and strong. I just remember feeling like I could breathe again, like that entire hour of waiting, I could breathe. So that was my very first bleeding incident, and we kind of just figured it was a subchorionic hematoma because the anatomy scan hadn't shown us anything else, that there was any other issues going on. So that's kind of what my midwife and I assumed, so it wasn't such a big deal. We were just going to keep an eye on it, and if I bled again, then we would take it further and investigate what's going on. So fast forward exactly 1 week, so now I'm 30 weeks, it happens again. And we're like, okay, something's going wrong. And so my husband and I and all our kids, we pack up and head out an hour and a half away to go get this scan done. I'd had the regular ultrasound and the transvaginal ultrasound. And as soon as she put the wand on me, she was like, yep, there it is. You've got placenta previa. So I got diagnosed with it at 30 weeks, did not know it beforehand, which was pretty awful. It's definitely something you want to know at the earliest time possible so that you can refrain from things that are gonna initiate or possibly initiate bleeding, like sex and exercise and certain things like that. So I was devastated, I was crying. Of course, baby was okay, so I was relieved, but also just heartbroken that we wouldn't be able to have the home birth that we were planning on. So the next day, I had another bleed. So now we're at 3 bleeds, at least one of which was like I lost a few clots, small clots, nothing huge, but clots, and you know, enough that I had to put on a panty liner for the rest of the day kind of thing. And so we're talking 3 bleeds in about 8 or 9 days. So at that point, my midwife suggested that I go ahead and check myself into the hospital. So I did that night. I think it was a Thursday night, so I was about 30 and a half weeks at that point. And I checked myself in to a hospital that has like a level 4 NICU and everything, just in case baby had to be delivered for whatever reason. So that was 45 minutes away. So I was scrambling to get stuff done, or to pack a small bag, to like get dinner prepped early for the kids, and just all sorts of things, even though I'm supposed to. The best thing I could have done was just to rest and to prop my feet up and to not kind of irritate the cervix more. So I get to the hospital and I'm admitted, and of course I'm in triage for like 6 hours. They're giving me the non-stress test, but they just kept the monitor on for a full 12 hours, I believe is what it was. It was very uncomfortable. I'll insert a clip here maybe. Okay, it's 11 o'clock. I got admitted at 5 and spent 5 hours in triage. Just got moved to a room. They're keeping me for a few days, 3 to 4 days, to monitor and assess everything. So, just trying to stay calm and the doctor said I could have a C-section in a few days. Could be a month. Just depends on the bleeding and how that progresses or doesn't progress. All I know is that I feel like a caged animal in here. Like I can't breathe. They have to have the baby monitored 24/7, so I can't walk around and do things. Can't even walk down the hall. I'm in the labor and delivery room, so that's where I'm staying. And yeah, we'll see how tomorrow goes. I'm gonna try and get some sleep if I can. I doubt it, but I will try. But it was very uncomfortable, but at least I was reassured that baby was okay. But the doctors did, the MFM doctors, maternal and fetal medicine, the next day they did all their tests and scans, and they did an additional transvaginal ultrasound just to measure my placenta and where it was at and everything. Sorry if you hear mowing in the background. That's my husband. So they did more scans, and I met with some specialists, and they confirmed you have placenta previa, and not only that, but complete placenta previa. So placenta previa is when the placenta is either touching the cervix or slightly covering the cervix, or in my case, it's completely covering the surface. And you can imagine if I were to try and have a vaginal birth, we would just bleed out. Me and baby would not survive. So the fact of the matter is, I'm gonna have to have a C-section. It's just a matter of when. And when I was at the hospital, the doctors, the only thing they could tell me was, well, you could have the baby as soon as tomorrow via emergency C-section, or you could have him a month from now. But either way, this baby needs to come out no later than 36 weeks. So he will be a preemie 100%. He will not make it past 36 weeks. I'll be lucky if I can kind of push it up to 37, but given that how much bleeding that I've had, it's not likely. So with placenta previa, 1 in 3 women actually have no symptoms, and they can make it to like 37 weeks and deliver via C-section just fine. But women who are symptomatic, such as myself, have to be very, very careful that they don't start bleeding out. And the issue really arises because of hemorrhaging. And when your cervix starts to efface, the blood vessels from the placenta are being ruptured. And so you can imagine how much of a situation you would be in that. So that's what they're trying to get the C-section done before that could be a possibility. This is more so the case if you have complete placenta previa like I do. And I'm at an even higher risk. My understanding, anyways, I'm not a medical professional, but my understanding of everything, I have an anterior placenta, which means it's in the front, not the back. And this increases my risk for hemorrhaging, either like mid-operation or before the C-section, just because of that placement of the placenta. 2 things are for certain. Number 1, I cannot have a home birth, not even close, can't even have a vaginal birth. And number 2, baby boy will be coming early. And as of right now, it's a kind of wait and see, and it's absolutely terrifying. He could come tomorrow if I suddenly start bleeding again, and it's uncontrollable, then I have to have an emergency C-section, and I'm very, very high, and I'm high risk to start hemorrhaging because of my anterior placenta, and there's just other issues that arise from Previa, such as placenta accreta, which is when the placenta kind of buries itself a little too deep into the uterine wall, and they can't safely detach the placenta from you, so they have to then take out your uterus, otherwise you could possibly bleed out. So that's a little bit rare, but my chances of getting that are like sixfold because I have Previa. So all these other kind of issues, there's multiple ones, multiple risk factors that happen because of the Previa. So it's a very delicate situation. We have to find the right balance of not delivering baby too early, that we're risking baby's health, but also not too late, that now we're risking the mother's life, basically. So currently, I am 32 weeks and 1 day. So the question is, will I make it to 36 weeks? We don't know. Every day is a blessing. For every 1 day that baby boy is in the womb, he saves himself 3 days from the NICU. I don't know exactly how true that is, but it's what I'm telling myself. And every day that I wake up without blood is a tiny miracle. So as of right now, with being 32 weeks, I have bled 4 times, 2 of which I lost clots, and they were fairly significant, which is why I was in the hospital for 2 nights. Which thankfully wasn't much longer than that, because if I had bled and I was still admitted, they likely would have just kept me until my C-section, which I cannot do. I can't. My mental health suffers dramatically in hospitals. I mentioned this in a previous video. I have white coat syndrome, so it's like just anxiety inducing to even be in a hospital setting, let alone everything that's actually going on. So all that to say is that, everything is up in the air right now, and it's just going to be a wait and see. And in preparation for my C-section, I am switching to an OB with the level 4 NICU, just in case baby is born sooner rather than later. I did get the steroid shots at the hospital, so that is going to be beneficial for baby's lungs. But as of right now, with 32 weeks, baby's organs are all fully developed with the exception of the lungs. So if he were to come this week, then at least we know he has a really good fighting chance. However, it's not until 34 weeks that they say the probability of survival is the same as a full-term newborn. So we're hoping at least to make it to 34 weeks. For those of you who were diagnosed or are diagnosed with placenta previa, I hope that this video gives you some sort of insight. It just doesn't seem like there's very many YouTubers or anyone, because it is kind of rare. 0.5% of women have placenta previa in their 3rd trimester, and even less of that have complete placenta previa like I do, which is more dangerous. So I'm hoping to give you guys some community here. I would love for you guys to share your story with placenta previa in the comments below, because I'm looking for answers too, and I'm looking to hear other women's experiences with this too, because there's such a wide range of previa stories, and there's not a whole lot of numbers to go off of, like what are our chances of making it to 36 weeks if I've already bled 4 times? Those are questions that I would love to know the answer to, but unfortunately we just don't have those. Thank you so much for watching. Keep your eye out for any updates with baby. We'll definitely keep you guys posted. No guarantee how many videos I'm gonna be able to get out during this time. It's super chaotic, but I really appreciate you guys being here with us and hearing our story, and I really hope to hear your guys' story as well.